Welcome, everybody. It is me, it is Izzy, and I am super hyped right now because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness just came out. It came out today. I happened to see the movie alongside my guest, who I'll be introducing in a few seconds here. But before I do that, as you know, I like to do my plugs of the week. First plug of the week is going to be a big one, and it starts tomorrow. Tomorrow's free comic book day, guys. Go to your local comic book shop and get your comic books. There'll be comic books from Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, well, Valiant, Archie. So many publishers are taking out books, and they're gonna be absolutely free. I'm going to start my day at Squiggy's Dugout. I'm going to be going out to Squiggy's Dugout and talk to people out there. I'll probably put some stuff on and I'll post some stuff up so you guys can see it, as well as some comic books. I'm also going to be going to the Spider's Web, which I don't have a flyer for, unfortunately, right now. But the Spider's Web is another great spot that is over in Yonkers, right across the street from the casino on Yonkers Avenue. Go check that one out. They're going to have some fantastic friends and guests are going to be there. I have Michael Gracia, one of my close friends who actually been in the show, and he's part of my Star Wars group. He's going to be there as alongside other publishers and stuff like that. So go check that one out on Spider's Web. And this just in today, I'm telling you, I got this news today, guys. I will be at the White Plains Comic Fest as well tomorrow at the gallery in White Plains Mall. It's an absolutely free comic book con that's going on. There'll be cosplaying. Go check it out. The website's right there. Go check it out. I'm going to be there later after I do the two shows in Squiggy's and Spider's Web. And then I'll be here. There's going to be an Empire Star Wars Guild there. They're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff. So go to that one. And I'm going to be handing out free sketches. That's right. Free sketches to everyone that's going to go. So with that said, it is now time to talk about the main event. And that is, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange. This is going to be a full review. We're going to start by giving our basic review, and then we're going to go deep dive into spoiler territory. So with that said, let me introduce to you my guest for today. He's actually my guest host. We hosted this week already. What's up, Achilles? Good seeing you again, man.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Having just right hot off the presses of having seen Doctor Strange. So this is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching, we both, Achilles and myself, saw Doctor Strange last night, right? You saw it last night, right? I saw it last night. I saw it at a 6:30 showing over at Ridge Hill, Yonkers. Overall opinion, what's your initial reaction to watching this movie? No spoilers in this case.
My initial reaction leaving the theater, it made me more excited, really happy for the Marvel universe. For Doctor Strange, not quite so much, but for the Marvel universe, I was like, if someone said, "Oh, should I go see it?" Absolutely, it is. I loved it.
Yeah, and I felt the same way. I thought it was a great movie. My overall reaction to it was that it was a good movie. There are some flaws here and there, but I'm okay with some of those flaws. And we'll talk a little bit more about those flaws a little bit later. But really, the things that are not spoilers are Doctor Strange is going through the multiverse, and he's going to go with America Chavez, who a lot of people don't know about the characters. She was in the trailers plenty, so it's not a surprise that she was in it. But we'll talk a little bit more about the character of America Chavez and who she is in the comic books as well as in this particular story. But really, we get some other known characters returning. Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, she's back. And again, she's at it again. Let's just say that much. She's at it again without giving away too much stuff. And last you saw her was in WandaVision. Did you? I take it you watched WandaVision. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So, little spoiler on WandaVision. Let's spoil a little bit about WandaVision because I think this movie you need to go in knowing what's going on in WandaVision. What do you think?
I think that in terms of big picture, I think that this movie was the Multiverse of Madness is more of a sequel to WandaVision than it is to Doctor Strange 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even though we do get Christine, Doctor Christine,
sure.
She's in the movie. We do get her, Christine Palmer, and I guess that's the connection from the first movie, right? That as well as Chitwin. I can never say his last name. I Ejiofor. I'm not sure
Oh
if I
yeah,
got it
I
right.
was never able to say.
Right? I can't. I don't know how to say it, but we get Mordo. In other words, we get Mordo in this movie. Um, there's something we'll talk about a little bit about him a little bit later, and of course, Wong. I love Wong. He is one of my he is banking it right now. He has become the new Olsen in the Marvel universe. If you notice that, he's in everything, man. Right? He is getting paid, and congratulations to Wong. Right? And his name just happens to be Benedict Wong. So that's something that's kind of interesting about him. But he does make the movie. He has some really good scenes, some fun scenes as well. Because when last we saw him in Spider-Man, turns out he's the Sorcerer Supreme now because of a loophole.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's your little Spider-Man spoiler. But really, this movie takes place almost immediately after Spider-Man. However, you don't need to have watched Spider-Man for this movie. It will help because you know how it started. But again, one of the prerequisites I will tell you that you definitely should watch is WandaVision for this movie. Because if you don't watch WandaVision, then you might miss out on a couple of threads in this movie. Like, in fact, the overall motive behind Scarlet Witch in particular.
Well, I mean, if the only exception to that would be if you were not familiar with the Marvel stuff leading up to this, right? So if you weren't familiar with Wanda from Infinity War and Endgame and those movies and stuff like that, you're not going to understand how does she go from the way she was in, let's say, for Endgame. How does she get from that to where she is in the Multiverse of Madness? So you need to watch WandaVision. But I always wonder, what if this was someone's first Marvel movie, right? Mm-hmm. And would they need to have seen the other stuff beforehand? How much would they need to see before so that they could at least follow what was happening? And that's for this movie specifically, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think for this movie, it would have been challenging to do that. Um, that's one of the things I'll say is it's a little problematic with this movie, where all the other movies prior, you don't necessarily have to see what came before it. But with this one, it really is almost a necessity to have seen the previous movies, and not even the first Doctor Strange, right? It's really more about the television series in WandaVision and really knowing a little bit about Wanda's story. But let's go into it because you know what? It's already 9 minutes into our video, and we are here to do what we came here to do. And it's now I am giving you guys your spoiler alert. This is your spoiler alert. I hate to tell you guys to go. If you have not seen the movie, go get your tickets, watch the movie, then come back to this video and you'll thank me later because there are things in this movie that will make you go, what? And yes, there are applauding moments. I will say there was moments that we applaud. Did you applaud in your theater? I know you're in Quakertown, so I don't know how they work over there. But...
there were 5 people in the theater. Now, to be fair to Quakertown, Pennsylvania, which is where I live, to be fair to that, I saw the 3:00 movie. It was the first showing of Doctor Strange in this town, 3:00 on Thursday. So I was there for that. When I went to see the Wonder Woman movie the first time around, I saw it on a Friday night, 9:00, and I was the only person in the theater. It's just Quakertown.
But we're talking about the
opening night
the
for
second
the first
one.
Wonder Woman movie.
Really?
And for Endgame, I was one of like maybe 7 people. It's wild.
And that's a sellout show in Quakertown. All right, so here's your spoiler warning. I'm gonna let you guys in on the spoilers starting right now. We are going into full spoiler territory. So with that being said, you have been warned. And I'm gonna leave this up so that you can see that this will always be a spoiler moment now. Okay, now that we're gonna go into spoiler territory, let's go into the beginning of the movie, right? The movie opens up it opens up pretty crazy. It opens up, and the first thing we get is ponytail Doctor Strange running away from this crazy monster, right? And he's with America Chavez.
Well, and also a Doctor Strange without a cape.
Yes, capeless Doctor Strange. He has a ponytail. He has a full beard, so he doesn't have any fancy beard. And he got the little white hairs going up here, which is a very interesting look that they went with. Talk to me a little bit about the scene and what this scene was all about.
Well, this the first thing when you see that this scene and they're chasing and trying to get this book and he's there, you're just kind of thrown with the amount of action. At least I wasn't expecting to go into this movie with just boom that this was happening right away. And I thought that was Doctor Strange. I thought it was the Doctor Strange that we've always seen. I didn't think that it was, even though the trailer showed like a different version, like a zombie type thing or whatever. I thought this was the one that I'd always known. I just thought this is what he looks like now, no cape and whatever. But he ends up willing to sacrifice the life of America Chavez in order to save the multiverse, and he seems to be quite okay with his decision.
Yeah, so we get introduced to America Chavez immediately right at the start of the movie. And what we learn about America Chavez, I'm trying to see if I can find a slide that has her in it because it's kind of hard to see in my pictures. So we see America Chavez. This is our first appearance. This is the first appearance, MCU appearance of America Chavez. A couple of things that you need to know about America Chavez. She is obviously with a name like America Chavez, she is a Latin character. She's been in part of the Marvel universe for several years now. She's relatively new. I wouldn't say she's about maybe 10 years old as far as how long she's been in the comics, but she is part of the LGBTQ community. And what's important about her is that she's a multiverse portal. That's her powers. That she creates these star energy blasts that leads you to different universes. And obviously they discussed it in the movie. One thing I noticed that they never did, which I don't know in the comic books is this the case, but it appears that she is a mutant, and they never say anything about it because it seems like that's her powers, and that it's a mutant ability. And we'll talk a little bit about mutants.
They never say this in the comics, or you're talking about they don't say it in the movie?
They never say it in the movie, but I'm not 100% sure in the comic books if she's in fact a mutant or not.
Right, because they never say that Wanda and her brother were mutants. They never. I don't think they were, for a while they weren't allowed to use that term.
Yeah, they were called miracles in the MCU, but I think at this point I think they could do that now. I think they could call them mutants.
I would hope. Yes.
All right, so she's there, and what's interesting in the movie is that she doesn't have control of her powers. Sounds very mutant-like,
yeah.
Right? So it's a common thread. So she discovered her powers early, and she discovers her powers really through her. She has two mothers, and the two mothers one day they're going out, they're hanging out. She's from a different universe, so she's not from the MCU universe. That's one thing we've established. She is from a different universe, and at this universe, she has two mothers, and she opened a portal that took them away, and we never solved that answer in the movie. So we see them being dragged away, and then that's it. And that's kind of like that's left open-ended. It's left for future opportunities to talk about. However, during this time, they're trying to get to the very popular, if you know your Doctor Strange lore, they're getting to the mighty book of Vasanti, which is a very important book when it comes to Doctor Strange. That is the book of books to Doctor Strange, and it's a book of good. However, in this movie, there is the counter book to that, which is a big component, which we originally seen it in WandaVision, and that's the Darkhold. So for all the goodness that the Vasanti is, the Darkhold is the exact opposite of that. And there's this creature hunting her down, and it opens up that way, but it turns out that it was all just a dream. Or so we thought.
Or so we thought. Yeah.
Or so we thought. So let's continue talking a little bit more about what we ended up seeing afterwards. So Doctor Strange wakes up from this potential dream that's happening, right? Oh, let's not forget that there's a very important thing that I have to make note of, is that this version of Doctor Strange gets killed, right? This version of Doctor Strange gets killed. That's important to note. All right. Again, spoiler alerts, guys. It's right there. It's gonna stay up. I'm not taking it down. This Doctor Strange gets killed in this. I don't know if this was a universe or if this was something outside of the universe, outside of space and time, where this book was located. And this
I think they made it sound like it's like this book was kind of like in some realm that was like the in between of all these different dimensions.
Yeah, so it's kind of like in this hidden space, right? Hidden space of time.
Because okay,
outside
so
of
then
reality.
so that was kind of a question that I was wondering. It's like this book of good. Is there a book of good in every one of the multiverses?
Hmm. It didn't seem like that, because it seemed like when they went back to it, it was the same
It was the
area.
same spot as the beginning of the movie. So I was like, this book is just one particular thing. Okay, so that's
Yeah, so it would appear that he
okay.
wakes up from his dream, and there's a very important event happening. There is what's going on at this moment is a wedding, but it's not Doctor Strange's wedding. It's Christine Palmer's wedding. All right, and I can see is Rachel McAdams, right? She's playing her role of Dr. Christine Palmer, and at the same time, Doctor Strange, he's ready for he's in this wedding as a guest. He is a guest to Christine Palmer. First of all, he went to his ex's wedding. That to me was weird, but oh well. You know what I mean? Especially because of his feelings towards her, because it's well established in this movie that he still has feelings towards her.
Should an ex be at a wedding? That to me is that's question number one. Whether he's Doctor Strange or not, should an ex be at the wedding?
And guys, for those of you who are watching, if you are watching, you can leave your comments, ask your questions, go for it, have fun. We'll try to take as many as we possibly can as they come in. So leave your comments. I want to see them. Put them in the YouTube, put them in Facebook, wherever you're watching. Put your comments in. Yeah, so he's at this wedding, and the best part is, if you see it in the photo here, he's also sitting next to, for those of you who did watch Doctor Strange, the first movie, is the doctor that he usually competed with, right? And they have this really weird, awkward conversation, right? In which, Dr. Nicodemus West, who's the surgeon and he's the former colleague of Doctor Strange, is telling him about everything that's happening. And of course, Doctor Strange is like, I was gone for 5 years, and he just threw another one, a bone at him. What can you remember?
Well, so his thing has always been, which is, I think it's the first time we see a civilian, we'll call him that, right? A civilian address the big snap, right? The five, or the blip. I think that's what they call it. So the blip, and he's pretty much going ahead and saying, okay, well, in those 5 years that I was gone, I lost my cats, and I also lost my brother. So I come back and I didn't get a chance to goodbye. I missed that time with him. Did you really have to do it that way? Was that really, which surprised me when he said, was that really the only way that things could have gone down? I didn't think that the civilians knew that much detail to the Endgame's battle. I'm like, wow, this guy knew like different beats of like what happened in this battle. So I was like, okay, so he's asking him that, and he does make the remark about Doctor Strange being the perfect surgeon, which, if you in Doctor Strange 1, it's kind of established, the perfect surgeon and the perfect superhero, which I thought was an interesting for the beginning of the movie. They're trying to establish this is what Doctor Strange's image is, right? And then when someone says you're the perfect surgeon and you're the perfect superhero, and then now walking down the aisle is your ex marrying somebody else.
but he didn't get to enjoy that wedding for long, right?
No, exactly.
So they had their conversation. the wedding happens, and then they're at the reception, which apparently is happening in the same place. And it's so funny because she was saying that her new husband was a fan, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's a fan," and all that. And Doctor and Strange is like, kind of like, yeah, okay, so I'm a celebrity kind of mindset, right? But then right at that moment, we get some more action. So that's one of the things that this movie does deliver on. It delivers on action, 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 action. That's one thing. It's almost nonstop action. There's some quiet scenes, but for the most part, beat to beat, it is action packed. So you will get your action fed, and that's something personally I actually enjoyed about the movie, about how they put it all together that way. But we get to see this huge monster attacking the city. And, it's New York City. So it's like, yeah, we've seen this, done that, right? Doctor Strange immediately runs out. He's in his suit and he immediately changes right on the spot, right? So almost Superman-like in a way.
Very.
Right? And he immediately fights this character, but it just so happens this character, who's in the comic books, his name is Shomagura. And in the movie, he's going by a different name. He's going by Garganos in the movie. He goes out and he starts fighting this creature who apparently is a mythical, spiritual demon hunter type character, as they explained it in some way. But what he's doing is that he's chasing America Chavez, right? The same girl that was in Doctor Strange's dream, right? So, and she's running away because one of the things she noticed about Doctor Strange is that in every single instance that she's running from a creature of some sort, and Doctor Strange always wants to sacrifice her life, thinking it is the only way of doing it. So she has trust issues when it comes to the Doctor Stranges, because she's met plenty of them in her time.
And I would say that for this movie that has so many action scenes, each of these battles, fights, or that they have, I felt were given a certain kind of tone. And this one gives you a very classic 80s type of the superhero Doctor Strange, this big Ghostbusters type creature coming through the city and stuff. So the vibe of this first battle I thought was cool for Doctor Strange and how it played out. And with Mordo as well. I guess Mordo was in there chiming in.
Yeah, so they go up, they do their thing, they're fighting this. He defeats the creature, and he has the conversation with America Chavez. Wong happens to be there, so Benedict Wong is there, fan favorite. Again, he's in everything now. You see it. I think he's hit almost all the movies now in some way or another. He was in Eternals. Was he in Black Widow? I can't remember now. He was in
Shang-Chi.
He's in Shang-Chi. He's in Spider-Man. So he's everywhere. He talks to Doctor Strange, and they talk about protecting Chavez, but they're also saying they need someone to help. So the first person Doctor Strange goes out to, which is obvious, he goes to talk to this woman. He goes to talk to Scarlet Witch. Well, Wanda Maximoff. And of course, Wanda's initial reaction to him was that, "You're coming to talk to me about Westview." And he was like, "No." But one of the things that I think Sam Raimi did really well with her in particular is that we know that she could be unstable. And in this particular movie, again, guys, spoiler, it's right down there. You see it right there. She loses it again. But it's different this time. What makes it different this time, Achilles?
I don't know necessarily if it's different, other than the fact that she's willing to kill someone to get to another version of her children, because I mean her own children are no longer, but she wants to get to these kids. I don't think that I'm trying to remember what Doctor Strange says to her when she says, "I thought you came about Westview," and he says, "No." He says something like, "We all make mistakes," or that's something else. He kind of, dismisses that. "I'm not trying to talk to you about that." But what she is in Westview, she only ends up being the exact same way on a bigger scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And he ends up telling her She ends up saying the line, which is all over the trailers, where she says, "How come when you do something you're a hero, but when I do something I'm a villain?" And it's totally true.
100%.
Right? It's totally true because he's done some bad things, but all for the sake of goodness. But yet when she does it, it's like she's a bad person, right? But the throwaway is as he's talking to her for help, she gives away the fact that it's America Chavez. And as a result, I see a little angry face there. She gives away that America Chavez, and he never mentioned her name. And as I watched this, I was like, he never said her name.
See, I didn't catch that, but
I caught it.
He did, and I was like, okay, so he kind of puts together the fact that she's the one who sent this creature after her. With this beautiful picture you have up is just all an illusion on her part.
It's all an illusion of craziness.
The fire. It was very much like Thanos when Thanos made it seem like the planet was fine when they were trying to track him down. And then he just kind of revealed that, no, this planet's all burning up or whatever. So, he realizes that, okay, Wanda, by the end of this scene, it becomes clear to him, Wanda is the villain.
And she's no longer Wanda at this point. Right now, she becomes Scarlet Witch. And the way they did it in this particular movie is that they made the Scarlet Witch an evil entity. They made it as if she was an evil entity. When in fact, really, all she really wants to do is be with her boys. That she never, in some world, they exist.
No, I mean, she was not. She was not Dark Phoenix. She was not.
No, she was not Dark Phoenix.
Destroy worlds. She just wanted to be with her boys, at the price of whoever was the mother of those boys in the universe.
Yeah. So yeah. They established this term called dream walking. Apparently. So what dream walking is, and this is where Doctor Strange, as we mentioned earlier in the beginning, is that he was in a dream. It wasn't that he was in a dream. Apparently, it's established now that dreaming is, in fact, going to a different world, going to a different multiverse. That's what was established. So he actually inhabited his body from a different world and experienced that moment. To him, it was a dream, but it was a reality somewhere else. And the concept of dream walking is something that Scarlet Witch, Wanda took advantage of to get to her kids, which was crazy. It was like how they did that, right? So she pretty much threatens Doctor Strange and says, "Give me the girl." And she's telling, "I'm being reasonable." Meanwhile, she's killing everybody around her. But there's a good reason why she was being reasonable, because she gets crazier later, to use the term. So, of course, they go to the Kamachaj, right? And they fight, and she messes them up. One woman messes them up big time. That one guy that she whispers, she just tells him run, and he just like, out of my way.
Okay, so real quick, right? Because we're coming up on the 7:30 mark. But okay, this fortress of sorcerers, right? Some of them are in training. I get that. But this is a fortress of sorcerers. And they're like, okay, we're all going to get together and fight. What I found very confusing was like, the only way that fight scene works is if you're writing it for 6-year-olds or 10-year-olds, where they're going to use their magic to fire stuff from an arrow or from a cannon and the little shields. But everywhere else where magic, it has to be done in a big way, whether it's in comics or movies, you think there'd be somebody inside there in a circle, a chant, doing something bigger than life. Even in the Moon Knight series, you see throughout different people, like, you get into the circle and do a chant. But here, they were all just with their little shields and shooting their stuff. It seemed like a really sad attack towards Wanda. I was like, no wonder she beat them, because they weren't really doing much.
Well, they eventually get away, right? America gets away because apparently she doesn't have full control of her powers, but when she's in high anxiety, they illuminate. Again, mutant. So they go, and one of the most mind-bending acid trips they go through, where they go through the multiverse.
That was great.
That was like, and again, it's Doctor Strange is known for having some crazy scenes. like that. This was no different. And I love the fact that they end up in all these, they just in a matter of seconds, they end up in all these different universes, similar to what they did in Guardians of the Galaxy. If you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2 with Rocket and the rest of the team, that they all ended up going into like this hyperspace. It was very similar to that. And what was really cool was that we got to see them go to universes, some of which was just like there was a liquid universe,
the paint, where they were just
the
like
paint,
floating paint. Yeah.
and they go there. They go to the What If universe, so they turn into the animated. It was like that is cool, and then they end up in this alternate universe in which it's beautiful. You get to see New York, and everything is kind of like I don't know what's going on. Global warming is not a thing there. I don't know what it is, but it seemed like a very advanced version of New York. It almost felt futuristic in a way for a lot of things that were going on. They go there, and the first thing they do is they go to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and this is where we get the part that everybody's been waiting for. We get Mordo opens the door, and there's a huge statue of Doctor Strange, and apparently he's the guy that saved them from Thanos. Oh, so we thought.
Right.
Right. We think that, and yes, this is not a spoiler because the Illuminati is mentioned in the trailer, but we get the first discussion about the Illuminati. So Mordo first befriends him. They're cool, but then eventually he then imprisons him, and he's going up for trial to talk to the Illuminati. What was your thoughts about that before we even share a little bit about who are the Illuminati?
Well, one thing I say that I like as far as the dynamic for you and me is that you come with a richer, certainly more current knowledge of comic books, right, than I do. So I knew of an Illuminati than Marvel the comics, but I never knew who was on it. I'm looking at this picture now and I'm thinking, Bolt from the Inhumans representing the moon, all the people that are on there. And Namor represents the ocean, but I don't see anybody from any other continent.
They're just all a bunch of Americans.
But yeah, but I was like, but seeing that the Illuminati, I remember thinking, okay, Professor X, right, was going to be. You heard his voice, but I was like, is that the character Patrick Stewart is playing? I wasn't even sure. I was like, is it not, whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that was the big standout moment, the breakout moment for the movie for sure. In that you get to see the Illuminati, and if you figure Professor X would be there, sure, but Captain Carter.
Yeah, so before we even start revealing the names, I know because we knew about Professor X from the trailers. We got little glimpses, we got his voice. In one of the trailers, you do see the shield, Captain Carter's shield in the trailers, so it's there. And you do see some of the other characters, but they made it so blurry that you couldn't pinpoint who it was. Before we start talking about who shows up in reality, the Illuminati, from those of you who don't know in the comics, the Illuminati first appeared in New Avengers. I want to say issue 8. The cover is Spider-Woman in the middle, and then all the New Avengers right behind her walking, and it's the first part of a story called The Sentry, which is dealing with the situation with the Sentry. But the Illuminati was formed together. I believe Iron Man brought them together, in which they have to deal with issues or that they're dealing with within the globe, but they can't reveal it to anybody else. So it's the biggest minds, it's the biggest leaders. Therefore, that's why we have Reed Richards. That's why we have Namor. We have Black Bolt. It's Iron Man. They got together because they had to deal with the threats or the potential threats. And one of the potential threats that brought them together was to get rid of the Incredible Hulk. So they were the ones responsible for sending the Hulk to Sakaar, right? They send the Hulk to Sakaar. They sent Bruce Banner to Sakaar. And when he found out that it was them, that's where we get World War Hulk, where he came back as a gladiator and he beat the living crap out of everybody. If you ever read the story, it's by Greg Pak and the art is done by John Romita Jr. the very beginning, Hulk right now is a gladiator. Gladiator. So he has a gladiator's mindset, but he's also the Hulk. And he is the most pissed off he has ever been. So putting that in perspective, we get a little glimpse of it in Thor Ragnarok, but there's more to it than that, of course, in the comic book. The first person he goes after is Black Bolt. And if you know anything about Black Bolt, his whisper alone could destroy you. Hulk threatened him and said, "Talk." And he tried to talk, and Hulk beat him through his voice. That's how crazy that scene is. You definitely got to check it out. We're Hulk. Okay, so now we get our first conversation of the Illuminati. So here's a beautiful photo, and obviously in the center of it, you see the one person that you need to see.
And is it the same for the comics where there's 7 people in the Illuminati? Is that number consistent? You know?
So the image that you just saw is the list. These are the 6.
Those 6. Okay.
The 6 are the Illuminati. And there's a big story with them in the Infinity Gems. They all get a gem and things like that. And that's also part of it.
Okay.
All right. So we get the Illuminati, and the first thing we start seeing the people that are in the Illuminati. I'm going to start with the first 3. Mordo, who is actually taking the place of Doctor Strange in this world. The Captain Marvel-less individual is Captain Marvel, but it's Maria Rambeau, which was really cool to see that she has the mantle of Captain Marvel. But she's big. She's like cocky in this, right? She's kind of like, there's a term for it. Rhymes with itch. So that's how she kind of acted, right? She was very condescending. She didn't trust Doctor Strange, but it was the moment we see Professor X, right? We knew Professor X was coming. He came in the yellow wheelchair from the cartoon. That was awesome. That was just one of those moments like, yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that chair looked like it was as big as the platform that they were all sitting on. That chair looked huge.
But that's how it looked in the comic books.
And
I don't know if you noticed, he came to the theme music of the X-Men cartoon.
Well, he had that chair. Did he have that in that 90s X-Men cartoon animated?
Yeah, he had it in the cartoons.
I never watched that, but
oh, dude, you're missing out, man.
I was in college.
I was in high. I was
no, you were. You weren't on here in college.
No, it was 90. It came out in like 94, 93.
Yeah.
I was up there already. I was still a teenager. I'm happy to say that. I was still a teenager, but yeah, I was glued to the X-Men cartoon. I loved it. And he comes out to the X-Men theme music, which was awesome. Not exact, not like the but it was done through the score. So that was a nice little Easter egg that was there. Right? So that was awesome. You were old. That's
oh my God.
So it comes out in the chair, and he then tells them, he tells Doctor Strange that they tells the group that he needs to let him know. But before we even start talking about what happened, the bigger reveal, everybody was talking about Professor X showing up. Maria Rambeau was cool too, but the big ones were the 3 that are here, starting with Black Bolt. Why he was Black Bolt, and he was dressed in the Black Bolt comic book lore. He was dressed with the tuning fork, and it was the same actor from the Inhumans TV show.
So in the Inhumans TV show, did he have the fork on his head? I can't remember.
No, what you see on the screen right now, that is the way he was throughout the whole TV show.
That's what I thought. And first of all, from the comics, I've always loved the Inhumans. Loved them. The TV show was an abomination for the genre.
I don't think I
an abomination. I will say that here.
I have yet to have found someone that said, "Yeah, that was a great show." It was bad.
But I was really, really happy to see him here, and to see that at least on this level they were embraced by the MCU.
Yeah. So they brought him back for this moment. The other big reveal was Sharon Carter. No, not Sharon Carter. That's the wrong Carter. Peggy Carter as Captain Carter from What If. So they brought in the What If character in full outfit. She was really cool. She didn't get to say that much lines, but just the fact of seeing her was a big deal. And then ultimately, the moment everybody, I think this is the moment everybody was talking about. John Krasinski, the one person everybody wanted, to the same respect that everybody wanted Patrick Stewart to be Professor X, everyone wants John Krasinski to be Reed Richards. We got John Krasinski as Reed Richards. That's it. I'm done. Mic drop.
Well, so the thing is, when you look at all of these, everybody that's in this Illuminati that they're showing are being represented by actors who have played that character already, with the exception of Reed Richards, right? So even for Captain Marvel, she's in that Captain Marvel movie, and she's playing that same person. It's just now she's got the powers or whatever. We're not 100% sure how that plays out. Maybe the next Captain Marvel movie will show it, but you don't get a curveball like, oh, there's a new actor playing this part until you get to the Reed Richards. What was your at least impression of him as a Reed Richards?
He's what I want. He's what I want.
Let me tell you something. The Fantastic Four has always been my favorite thing out of Marvel. Out of everything Marvel's ever done, the Fantastic Four has always been my favorite. And I love Reed Richards. I do like this actor, and I do like the actor being cast for Reed Richards. However, in this movie, he does not seem to act particularly smart in the way Reed Richards would be.
It's a different universe, though. So
well, this is true. But if they were out on the street and they all get together and he was the way he was, well, it's a different universe. But he's in the Illuminati, so therefore, by that membership, he has. Because I was like, well, it's supposed to be the smartest and the most powerful people in the universe, right? Captain Carter, I'm not sure if she automatically would qualify for any of that, but I liked her. I was just happy she was in there. That's great.
Yeah.
But Reed Richards, all he does is he walks up to her, no plan, no anything, and he just tries to say, oh, please stop, or whatever. And there was just no base. And he doesn't even act very arrogant. And Reed Richards isn't like Magneto arrogant, but there should have been.
Yeah, and that's some of the flaws I felt with this movie, is that they introduced these characters. I think the only one that actually had some kind of, even a little bit of teeth, it wasn't a lot of teeth, but was when Professor X goes into the mind of Wanda. That was like a really cool little scene that they did there, but he was unsuccessful in the process, because what ends up happening is that Wanda takes the body of the Wanda from that universe through what's this term called dream walking, and she tore them a new one. She came out like the most horrific type character straight out of Carrie, because that's what she looked like. She looked like Carrie, so complete with scars and all, and she decimated them one by one. It's to show the power of Wanda. That's really to show what kind of power, because that's what she did to get to America Chavez. She went through the entire Illuminati and just knocked them all out, pretty much. So Reed Richards turned into spaghetti. She pretty much she annihilated Black Bolt, and she took Captain Carter's shield and just killed her with her own shield.
No, she treated Captain Carter like you do those sandwiches that you make into triangles.
Yeah,
pretty much like,
and without even like a second breath, she did this. So that's one of the things that, though it was cool seeing this moment, and I'm sure we'll see them again in some way, because obviously there's a different universe. That's what it was. They were there for fan service. They were there for a short period of time. They were there to just get the crowd to say, oh my goodness, you just got these guys, right? But then they really weren't. Even Professor X, I felt so bad for Patrick Stewart. It's the same thing I was telling Debbie. He got killed 3 times in these movies. He's been killed 3 times. He just keeps getting killed. So with that said, she goes off, and they're still running away from her, and they end up in this other universe. Doctor Strange ends up meeting another version of Doctor Strange, who is now possessed by the Darkhold. So he ends up getting this third eye, as a result. And what was crazy about this particular scene is that the only way, he had to do something about it. He takes him out and he had to get the Darkhold, but he had to find a way to battle Scarlet Witch. And when he goes to battle Scarlet Witch, that's where we get zombie Doctor Strange. And what was awesome about it, it was Doctor Strange dream walking in his dead body that he buried.
Exactly.
Again, and even with the spoiler, there's so much more going on that we can't even talk. We're not even talking about. We're trying to go as fast as we possibly can with this, and we could talk about this all day. But your initial thoughts about zombie.
Okay, so
Strange.
now the thing about the zombies, I'm very curious to get your take. The zombies was, other than America Chavez, the character, the zombies was for me the biggest problem I had with the movie. It felt very clunky visually. It wasn't doing it for me. Even when like the hand breaks out of the crypt or whatever it is on top of that roof, it looked like styrofoam pieces were just. I was like, the production value for the movie is like this, and then when these zombies start coming, it just tanks. Now there is a decision that was made, I guess, by the director to have what you're looking at right now at Benedict Cumberbatch going ahead and being the zombie, that is not CGI. It is the actor with the makeup and stuff. And these days, there's two different ways that you go about it. Do you want CGI Jabba the Hutt, or do you want like the old school big puppet people inside moving these things? I felt it's a bold attempt. I always prefer to go with the real texture and stuff, but this looked really, for me, it was very cheesy. And even when he does a wink as the zombie and so forth.
Yeah, there was moments where he was talking to America Chavez, and part of you felt like it feels comical, but I think they weren't trying to go with the comical side. But again, it's Sam Raimi, so Sam Raimi is known for Evil Dead and that kind of genre, which is kind of like horror with comedy combined. So there, it's hard to distinguish if it was done on purpose to make it look almost kind of cheesy, kind of B-listed, because that's kind of right in Sam Raimi's ballpark. But yeah, I agree with you. There was some moments where the CGI wasn't selling it properly.
I mean, it was inconsistent, I guess, because moment that you see in the trailer where he's floating up and you see all the other arms and he looks, it looks really cool. That was most of that anyway. It seemed like CGI-ish. Then you have parts where there was no CGI. Then those demons that were flying around, I don't know if you would call them zombies, the undead or whatever.
Yeah, they were the undead souls.
That Christine legit kicked one across the room. Christine! I was like, so how dangerous are these things really? If Christine can kick one and it like flies across and crashes into
something. I know what you mean, man. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
So we get the movie. They eventually get to Wanda, and they get to Wanda. First of all, America beats her up. she finally figures out our powers, gives it a nice punch. But what's interesting enough is she gets to meet the other Wanda, and the other Wanda was the one that actually defeated her. But what was important is to tell, as she told her, like, they'll be okay. Your kids will be okay because I'm going to take care of them. So America then is now part of the sorcerer team. So she's now part of the Strange Academy. And that's where we leave her. However, Doctor Strange realized that he had to use the Darkhold, which wasn't supposed to happen, right? What was said right from the beginning is that everybody the Darkhold touches, it affects them in some way and becomes what's called an insurgent, right?
Right.
So, and that was part of the thing that the Illuminati was trying to prevent. That it turns out that Doctor Strange was the Thanos in their world in some way, and they had to destroy him. Black Bolt had to kill Doctor Strange in their world. They had to keep it a secret. But when he showed up, it was Professor X that had more trust in him, and ultimately Chavez had more trust in him, more so than any other Doctor Strange, obviously. And they saved pretty much the multiverse from Wanda, who all she wanted to do was be with her boys.
You know, yeah. They I want to say that for the moment of where you say that America Chavez throws like legit punches at Wanda, right? Okay, so
But they were cool when she was throwing punches into portals.
there is absolutely nothing cool about that moment at all, because this is the same Wanda that made Reed Richards into some like spaghetti. With brain busting, and she's just waving people off. She's that powerful. Now she's going to take a couple punches from a teenage girl who doesn't have, last I checked, super strength or anything. She's just punching her with her little star thing. Now, what I just don't understand is why, because I love the one thing that was able to stop Wanda was the Wanda who from the other universe seeing that motherhood thing, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of Chavez having that kind of like punch, well, I'm gonna go and do this, and I think Wanda at one point goes whatever, some weird back and forth. It could have been like Thanos and Iron Man, where it wasn't that Iron Man was more powerful than Thanos, it's that he was clever. He was, and it was clever for him to use the nanotechnology, whatever, to get the rings on his glove. So just as she's about to get like evaporated by Wanda, she could have used her power to go, because she would have been scared anyway. So she's going to use her power to take her exactly where Wanda needs to be, which is what Doctor Strange establishes. That when every time you've taken us somewhere, you take us where we need to be. She could have been so scared, and yet clever, and take her to that other one and do it that way. But that punching back and forth and all that just looked so incredibly unbelievable, considering what Wanda has done to everybody else in the movie up until that point.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that's where it fell at that point. But they defeat her, and everybody's happy, and everybody goes do their thing, right? It really ends up that way. It's like it's a happy ending kind of thing. Wanda.
Where do you think it left off with Wanda?
I don't know, because it's like with Wanda in particular, her story has to be one of the longest stories in all of the MCU, right? It starts from Avengers 2, and that's how long this story is. And her dealing with PTSD, losing her family members, and then getting them back, and then losing everyone she loves, Vision, all that, because Vision's not even in this movie.
No.
Right?
And neither is Agatha.
Agatha's not in this movie. She's coming back. We know she's coming back. She has a show coming, guys. So she will be back. So all that I don't think her story is fully closed yet. However, I think it's going to get to this point that it's starting to become stale, if for lack of a better word. I think this should have been the moment that it was like, let's end this story. Right, that's how I felt.
If for Wanda's thing where she overreaches, right, with her powers and stuff, the quest for Vision, and then the quest for the kids, and she's, whether it's Westview that she's doing stuff to, or the multiverse, she keeps making that mistake. But so is Doctor Strange, and to me, Doctor Strange is more of a villain, if you go by what they're doing, than Wanda, because Wanda did what she did for her children, right? She's like, I want my kids, whatever. She's got that thing going. Doctor Strange, in No Way Home, he already told Peter, this isn't a good idea. This doesn't make sense just because of what you want for your friends. And yet he does it anyway. He messes with the fragility of the multiverse to help Peter.
He's cocky. That's his whole thing. And that is a Doctor Strange thing.
But cocky is what we use because it's a man, I guess. But when Wanda's doing it, then she's crazy, psycho, so forth. But to me, that's he is a bigger threat. I think the Illuminati knew what they were talking about. They should not have trusted Strange, because they told him, don't do that dream walking. And then he did it.
He did it.
He broke every time they told Steven not to do something, he did it.
Well, he ends up becoming kind of like a new Tony Stark, right? The only difference is, in Tony Stark's case, it's about tech, but in Doctor Strange, it's all about the mystical arts, right? The sorcery side of things. So, and he's considered to be the best of them, right? But at the same time, he hasn't lost his arrogance. Let's just say that much. He's humbled himself, because we learned he learned humility in the first movie, but he's still arrogant in a lot of other things.
I don't see how he humbled himself. He didn't act humble with his little surgeon buddy. He didn't act humble with Mordo or anything.
But
like
not in this
movie
at all.
Humble with pretty much anyone.
Not in this movie. The only person that he was cool with was America.
Well,
right?
Christine
Yeah.
is the only one who's allowed to put him in check, and that's it.
And they both realize that this is never going to happen. As much as they're the forbidden love story, right? It's never going to happen, and that leads us to the ending, right? Right before we go into the first credits, we see Doctor Strange walking the streets of the village because he's in Bleecker Street, so that's the village. He's walking through the streets of it, and then he ends up having a convulsion, right? And then out of nowhere, and everybody around him is like, "Look at this guy," you know. And he gets the third eye. He gets the third eye, which I never really. I don't know. Something about this third eye looks weird. It doesn't feel
well when it shows up. He looks very angry and it looks evil. He looks like Trigon.
Trigon.
Yeah,
but Trigon has the 4 eyes rather than 3 eyes. And
yeah, that's right.
And the movie ends right there. It ends at that moment. We get the first credits, and then we get our first post credit. The first post credit is Clia, played by Charlize Theron. Out of all people, they got her to play Clia, and it's that third eye. Look how weird it looks.
It looks gross. It doesn't look scary.
It looks like a bad Photoshop image. It's like
gross. Yeah.
Right? So Charlize Theron, what's important to know about her character, she's playing Clia. Clia is Doctor Strange's love interest. She is the one that he eventually stays with and marries. In fact, in the comic books today, in the current run, she is now the possessor of the Sorcerer Supreme. She's now the Sorcerer Supreme in the comics. So she does have a mystical thing, and she comes up to him like, "Hey, you're in Scourge. You want to go check this out?" And he's like, "Yeah." and I'm not making it up. He really does go, "Yeah."
And when that end credit scene ended, my buddy looked at me and he's like, "Who was that?" I said, "I have no idea who that was."
That is Clia.
I never read Doctor Strange. I only read when he was in the Defenders, when he would pop up in Fantastic Four. But his comic in and of itself is like, he's not a superhero. He's a sorcerer. So I want no part of that. Yeah. So I wasn't familiar with his mythology at all.
Yeah. So she's a major component of his mythology. I'll tell you that much. That leads up to the future, and we get the Doctor Strange will return byline. That's going to cop them. And then we get our second end credit afterwards, which was... It was an end credit that we didn't need. It doesn't do anything for the future of the MCU. So for those of you who are watching this spoiler and you really don't care about the spoilers, because you watched it all the way through, I'll tell you what leads to this end credit before we talk about this end credit. This particular end credit is the result of a scene earlier in the movie where Bruce Campbell, who happens to be a hot dog vendor in this other universe, he was selling chicken, what pizza balls? That's what it was. Pizza
balls, yes.
Pizza balls, and America took them because she believed everything was free in this universe. So he's like, "You took my pizza balls," and Doctor Strange casts a spell on him where he just beats himself up. He beats himself up, and then when America looks at him, he's like, "That's gonna stop soon." It's like, "How long? 2 weeks." Right? We go back to this character in the end credit, and he's still beating himself up, but he finally stops, and he looks at the screen and tells the people it's over, and that was the end credit.
Yeah, and so for anyone who really had to use the bathroom and was holding it in. that particular scene is like, that's not right. I said they are not right, because I was one of those people. I really had to pee. I had an entire gigantic Coke, and I was like, I don't want to miss it. And it was that I was like, oh, y'all did me so dirty with that one. But okay,
not since Homecoming have we had an end credit like that. Because remember Homecoming with Captain America? So you stood around and wasted your time waiting.
well, the things after the first one, which we see Charlize Theron, whatever. Oh, that's cool, and it's going. My buddy, he's all about he's looking on his phone. He's like, oh wait, there's another one. It says there's another one. Mm-hmm. That's all he knew. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'll wait. And I'm like bouncing my chair. I was like, I really gotta go. And then it was that. So, if for anybody that's watching this that hasn't seen it, but they're going to go afterwards, do not wait for that final one. Just go to the bathroom for sure.
All right, so let's go ahead and list our ratings for the movie. Go ahead and keep it started on a scale of 1 through 5, 5 being the best. What will you rank this movie?
I would rank it a 5. I really would. For
a 5 out of 5,
I would give it a 5.
Wow.
A 5 out of 5 for because the thing is that for what a movie is trying to do, there's a lot of big swings and stuff like that. To expect them all to land perfectly and so forth, I think is almost a bit unfair. And it's a Doctor Strange movie. If you told me this was like the next Avengers movie and so forth, God knows there's enough characters, sure. But as a Doctor Strange movie, and for what they tried to accomplish, they certainly didn't try to play it safe. I thought that it was, I would give it, I guess maybe like a 4.5, if anything, because there was some serious clunkiness with Doctor Strange not going anywhere. That was when I said, if you're going to do a Doctor Strange movie, something should happen with the main character, Doctor Strange. But this to me was a Wanda movie, not a Doctor Strange movie. That poster you're showing right now is exactly how the movie felt. That Wanda was the main thing and everybody else was just trying to like handle her.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. There's a lot to just talk about when it was more like a WandaVision Part 2 storyline, but I think it really was a Doctor Strange. They did share the screen time, where it was, to me, it was a Doctor Strange movie, and he was the character behind it, but of course she was a formidable foe. That what I have to say. She was scary when she needed to be scary. I'll give you Elizabeth Olsen's performance. She scared the crap out of people because when you saw her going out, it was like, oh no, she means business, and you saw that. So with that being said, that was good. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is accustomed to this role already. He's played it numerous times already, so he knows how to play the character. So to him, it's almost like a muscle memory now. With that said, I did love to see the cameos, but I felt cheated that they were given this type of screen time, and then more importantly, they were just killed off in a very meaningless way. So you got your fan service, and it was almost like MCU said, "Look, we gave you what you wanted. Now we're gonna do what we want to do with it."
Let me ask you real quick then. If you had never seen the previews of this movie and did not know that the Illuminati was even going to be in it, then would the way they have been shown, and maybe you get very little, if you only get a little screen time, something you weren't expecting to get any screen time at all, would that have made a difference?
No, because when it comes to the Illuminati is a very powerful cabal. They're a powerful cabal. They are, at one time they all held one of the stones. That's how important they were, and they still are in the comic books. So to see what they did with them and kind of she systematically just took them all down, and it didn't take much for her to do it either.
But then had to run through a tunnel, stumble through a tunnel to chase down the other.
Yeah, exactly. So there was that. So I will give it my rating, and I'm going to go ahead and post it up right now. I'm giving it 3 out of 5 Izzies. That is the rating this movie gets. All right, 3 out of 5 Izzies. And here's my reason. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was debating between 3 and 4. Right? I don't give points. I don't give 0.5s. I'm not that guy. If I'm sticking to a 5, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't give out points. Right? I remember one time I did one, and someone said I give it like a 4.8. I'm like, no. Yeah, exactly. We're not going into the decimal system here. 3 out of 5 Izzies. Here's what I'm going to give it. I love the action. The action was great. I love the fact that I got to see characters that I've been waiting to see in the MCU. So I was happy to see Black Bolt return. I was happy to see Professor X get his glory. I was definitely happy to see John Krasinski as Reed Richards. So now my next question is, are we going to get Emily Blunt as Sue? Because that's the next thing. because everybody wants her. And to be honest with you, when it comes to Emily Blunt playing the role, it's like she's a perfect fit. She's a perfect fit for Sue, right? It really is. And as much as we wanted John Krasinski, I think we equally want her to be Sue. So I have that. And let's see what we got a little comment here. Movies aren't movies anymore; they're just content for streaming. Yeah, I agree to that because you had to see this is where my ratings come into play. My ratings come to play because you had to have seen WandaVision to understand what she was doing. That was the case, and it was WandaVision 2.0 because it was back to the same tropes that she did in Westview. She's doing it all over again, but she's doing it through a multiverse. She's doing it to find these kids and all that. And it's the other part is that it's leading us to the next part. It's leading us to it is a placeholder to what's to come, which I think is going to be Secret Wars. That's what they're going towards. That's what it looks like they're going towards. Secret Wars. So all this stuff is part of it. So it's not a cohesive movie. The Sam Raimi of it all is fantastic, and I love because it did feel Sam Raimi. You had those jump scare moments. Those moments that you just go like that, and there's plenty of this in this movie. So there's that. Wong, on the other hand, he threw him off a cliff, and we all knew he wasn't dead. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of predictability.
And Wong didn't act like the Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange was acting like he was the one running the show in Hong Kong.
Yeah, and Wong really didn't do anything in this movie. He tried. In fact, he took her to the place.
I really couldn't understand why he would take her to where, like, the book burning was the one way to stop her from doing anything. And then he's like, "I'll show you where it's at." So you don't kill these four. I'm gonna take you somewhere so that you can
kill everybody else
in jeopardy.
Yeah, so there was a lot of things like that. We thank you for your time, guys. We're gonna let it all. We're gonna end it here. I just want to let everybody know who's watching. We're coming back. Achilles, you're coming back, right?
Yes.
We are coming back for our next review show because we talked about Doctor Strange. Now we need to talk about Moon Knight. So with that said, we are going to talk about Moon Knight next. That is our next topic of discussion. I'll be on the lookout for that one. It's going to be coming out at 8:30 today, this evening. So in just a couple of minutes. So for those of you who are watching right now, come back at 8:30 for the Moon Knight review, the season finale. We're going to have another guest with us. We're going to have Andrew Frank Rodriguez. He's going to talk a little bit. He just finished watching it yesterday. And, we have a lot to talk about with Moon Knight. I personally love the series, and we will talk more about it when we get there. But in the meantime, guys, what were your thoughts of the movie? What did you think of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, right? Let us know in the chat. Let us know in everything that's here in the comments. Tell us what you think about it, guys. We want to hear your opinions of the movie. I saw a few people putting their opinions in. Put them in the comments in YouTube. Let us know. Make sure you like the channel as well. Make sure you like this channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel where you get more content like this one. And we will see you in just a few minutes, guys.
And the person who put in the comments basuras, I'm just wondering if you could expand on what you meant by basuras. I don't know if you were referring to my point of view or you were agreeing with me. So I'm just wondering if you could expand on that if you're still listening.
Yeah, let us know, guys. We will see you later where we're going to do our Moon Knight review. So until next time, guys, stay good, stay true. Bye.